All right, welcome everybody to Real Estate Fundamentals. So today we're going to talk about short sales with one of the nation's fastest growing short sale companies. So if you're a real estate investor, you're a real estate agent, if you're a wholesaler, you're going to want to watch this interview in full because I'm going to show you how you may be letting money go down the drain by simply failing to monetize leads that you probably already have in your systems. My guest today is Bob Vieira, and he's the owner and founder of Universal Short Sales. This is a turnkey, and I mean it when I say a turnkey, start to finish short sale processing company. They work with wholesalers, agents, directly with homeowners, as well as attorneys, house counseling agencies, and like I've already mentioned, real estate investors. So in just a moment, Bob is going to show you how to cash in on some of these low equity deals that you may be running across in your business. I know that we are, and that's why I started working with Bob last year. And there's a reason Universal Short Sale, you may not know this, but it's growing exponentially. It's growing very, very quickly across the country right now by helping investors, helping agents, and other people that I mentioned all across North America by offering them a turnkey system to monetize these little to no equity leads. So, for those of you listening to this, and for those of you, we're pretty much have a real estate investor viewership here. You're going to want to watch this because there's a substantial amount of opportunity to be made in short sales. And if you've been a real estate investor in this business for any length of time, especially going back 2008, 2009, you know that there's a massive amount of money to be made with short sales. But if you've ever worked one of these short sale leads yourself, you also know that there's a lot of headaches involved if you're trying to do it yourself, trying to figure out that process. It can be an absolute nightmare. And so that's where Bob and Universal Short Sales comes in. They're going to handle everything for you from start to finish, 100% turnkey. So without further ado, like I said, if you're a real estate investor and agent, you're going to want to watch this to make sure that you don't fall guilty of what I was doing, was just letting these leads, these little to no equity leads, these short sale leads go down the drain because I didn't have an option to turn to monetize them. So without further ado, this is where Bob comes into the picture. My friend Bob Vieira. How you doing, Bob?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, of course. Thanks for coming on. So why don't you introduce yourself quickly and let everyone know a little bit about yourself and as well as about Universal Short Sales.
Awesome. My name's Bob Vieira. Great to be here with everybody. I'm the owner of Universal Short Sales, as Brant had just mentioned, full service short sale processing company. So what that means quickly is literally from start to finish, we handle the entire short sale facilitation on behalf of the seller. So that's all the ugly stuff in between. That's dealing with the lender, all the documentation. We have great follow-up systems in place to get it done, so on and so forth. That's what we do.
Yeah. So before we dig too deep into, some of the deeper details, why don't you give our listeners just a brief kind of short sale 101 quick overview for listeners who are brand new, who've never been experienced with short sales, but also investors who just need a little refresher. What the heck is a short sale? How does this work? How do we make money from it?
Yeah. So in its simplest form, a short sale is when a homeowner is underwater on their property. So what that means is they owe more on the mortgage balance than the property is worth in its as-is form. So let's use this example. Let's say a homeowner owns a property and the mortgage is $100,000. So that's what they owe the bank. But the as-is value of the house, let's say, is $70,000. In that situation, the homeowner's underwater, okay? And if they're mortgage delinquent, so if they're behind on their mortgage and they have a good hardship, the lender is most likely going to consider a short sale. So that's just simply letting them sell short on the property. So going back to the example, in a short sale situation, the bank is going to let the homeowner sell for the as-is value, which is $70,000, and that deficiency, the $30,000 in between that they're leaving on the table, typically they're going to have to come to settlement with that money, but there's virtually zero homeowners who are going to write a $30,000 check at settlement. We all know this.
Yeah.
So the bank is going to forgive that debt. They're going to forgive that $30K. Now there's tax implications, but that's a different subject. So the homeowner is able to walk away from the property without paying the $30K, and it does not get recorded as a foreclosure on their record. So they can avoid foreclosure and just walk away from the issue.
Right. And that's the big value for the homeowner. Like they get out of their home problem. And that's what we do as real estate investors. We fix problems for the most part, right? House problems, real estate problems. And so they get out from under that house. They avoid the foreclosure on their record. Now, you mentioned there's some tax implications. We won't get into that. So in that example, if that home is worth $70,000, well, as real estate investors, we're looking for a discount. What are some of the typical discounts that you've seen that the bank will sell for? Are they trying to get 100% of what they have into it? I assume, but I know there's also some properties that I've seen personally where, let's say it was worth $100,000, the bank is just going to sell it for 70 because they need to let it go and get rid of the paper.
So a bank is definitely motivated, right? But you have to be careful because there's this myth that just because a bank is motivated in a short sale, they're going to automatically take this huge loss and the investor's going to walk away with a profit. How it works is actually very straightforward. So the lender is going to order a third-party appraisal. Whatever that appraisal comes in at, they're going to study it, and that's what they're going to counter you at. So it's not really a matter of, hey, I'm going to negotiate this great deal with the bank. Let's see how motivated they are. Really, you have to know how to manage that third-party appraisal. And look, if it comes in low, then you're going to make a fat profit as the investor.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit more about the bank's mindset and what we're the current, environment that we're in. So you and I were talking before we started about this with the market crash with COVID-19, here in the Texas market, we have, super low oil prices. So oil and gas sector is hurting a lot. So there's a lot of layoffs, small businesses going under. Stuff shakes out. Would you, whenever there is a surplus of, I guess, inventory of short sales, do you think that the banks become more motivated to take a discount just because they're managing so much volume, or how do you see that potentially playing out in the next 6 months to a year?
They're not going to be more motivated to take a discount on an individual basis because remember, it all comes back to the third-party appraisal. Now, is a bank motivated in general to do a short sale? Absolutely. Depending on, and like that doesn't even matter on the economic climate either, because a bank, you have to remember, is a big business. Just like any business, big or small, they don't want bad debt on their record.
Sure.
So like your business, my business, bad debt is no good. So they're always going to be motivated to do a short sale.
Yeah.
Here's another factor of motivation as well. So every state is either a non-judicial or a judicial state. I won't get too far into it. However, a judicial state means that legally, in order for a bank to foreclose on the property, Brant, they have to take you through a court process. They have to sue you as the homeowner. In a judicial situation, that's extremely expensive for the lender. So in those situations, that just adds another level of motivation to get that short sale done, because they don't want to have to go through the court expenses. There's lawyer fees. They have to pay $1 million to an attorney. So in a judicial state like Pennsylvania, for example, they're going to have an extra level of motivation to get the short sale done.
Yeah, absolutely. Because those can drag on for not only months, but for years.
It's insane. I mean, look at New Jersey. New Jersey is a mess with their foreclosure backlog. It's been like that for years. It's insane.
Yeah, that's insane. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about how you work with investors. Let's talk about real estate investors specifically with their short sale leads. break down some of the steps if you can, and how you can help them. I know I've been connecting you with a lot of wholesalers that I work with in my market,
Yep.
just because I believe in what you're doing, and you've been putting money into my bank account. So that makes it easier to refer people out and more enjoyable. So talk about how you work with investors.
Yeah, so we have a wholesaler cash referral program, super simple. Whenever you're a wholesaler and you come across a lead that doesn't make sense for you to purchase, there's not enough equity, or there's not enough equity for you to wholesale it via assignment of agreement. Instead of just walking away, throwing away that lead, putting it in the dead leads folder, if it makes sense for a short sale, if you think there's even an inkling of a chance it could be a short sale, you could refer it to my company, Universal Short Sales. And if it's qualified, we could help the seller process a short sale and then cut you a $500 check for that dead lead right after closing. And that's literally for every lead you send.
Yeah. And so how that's working out in my company is, before, whenever we had, short sale leads, we didn't do anything with them. We didn't touch them. We wouldn't follow up with them. They were basically marked as a dead lead, and that was it. And so when I met Bob, and I had worked with a couple of other short sale companies, dispositions companies, and honestly, I didn't have a good experience and at all. And there wasn't good communication. So I was like, I just kind of assumed, let's just not work with that. Those short sales don't work. They don't, at least didn't work for us. So now we have a very easy system for any of you out there who are, if you're wholesaling, if you're running investment company, you have acquisitions agents, it's very, very simple. So whenever our acquisitions takes on a lead, they run an appointment, they deem it to be a short sale situation, like Bob has just explained kind of what those look like. Very easy. Send an email. Alex sends you a decent amount of emails, right, Bob? And he's like, here you go, Bob, the short sale situation. We mark it, tag it in our system that's preferred to Bob. And Bob gives us just steady communication and keeps us up to date. Hey, I think I can close this one. No, this one's not really viable for whatever reason. And for the ones that he closes, like he said, we get a commission, we get a check, and it's very turnkey. We have very little involvement, I would say, at that point in time, unless it comes back to listing it. So let's talk about real estate agents. So you help them in the same way, right? And but let's talk about that a little bit. I know the agents' lead sources are a little bit different, but if an agent brings you a lead, depending on however they generate that, how does that work on the back end? Can they potentially get that listing as well when the bank's ready to list it?
Yep. In fact, it's their listing. So the one that's most fresh on my mind is actually this morning, right before I hopped on a call with you. We have one of our Ohio-based real estate agents. He had a lead, reached out to me through email. He said, hey, Bob, I have a listing. We couldn't sell it the traditional way, so a short sale makes sense. Mm-hmm. So we're going to help the seller do a short sale. And that listing the listing agent who brought us the lead, it's their listing. It's their listing. We don't touch your listing commission. We just make your life easier by facilitating, speaking to the bank, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So super simple.
Yeah. It's a great opportunity. And I know that we've already used your system to provide multiple leads and listings, I should say, for agents on my team here in the Houston, Texas market, and even expanding to other states now with what we're doing at EXP. So let's talk about, and just to rehash that, folks, I want to make sure that you're getting that, where you basically are doing nothing except sending that lead to Bob. And if you're an agent, Bob's going to do all the heavy lifting, all that hard work. It's going to send that back to you as a listing if he's able to get it closed. And so what you're doing, guys, this is just like planting seeds, right? So we all have so much to do already on a day-to-day basis in our investing business. And you got a choice. Like, you can, throw those seeds in the trash, if you will, or kick them over to Bob, and you never know what's going to pop up a month, 3 months, 6 months later. And it's nice to get those little updates from Bob, like, hey, this one's going to go through. and that this may be 6 months from now because you did something, you sent them a lead today. So this is a way to really monetize what you're already doing in your business. Bob, let's talk about, explain what well, I'm going to go ahead and lump these two questions together. Explain what an ideal short sale lead looks like to you, so people know what that looks like, kind of like your avatar of a lead.
Yep.
And then conversely, a non-ideal short sale lead, so kind of avoid people wasting your time or their time. So
Yeah.
what's the good and the bad on both sides?
Yeah. So the ideal short sale lead is going to have two factors. First factor you want to look for is mortgage delinquency. Is the homeowner behind on their mortgage, or will they be behind soon on their mortgage? Okay. The second factor you want to look for is negative equity. Are they underwater? Going back to that original example, Brant, that I gave with the 70 grand as is, but they owe 100. If it's a situation like that, it's called negative equity, or they're underwater on their house. That's the second factor. Now, we'll look at it, if you're looking at a lead and you're a wholesaler and it has one of those two factors, send it over any way we could possibly still do something with it. But if it has both of those factors, then pretty much it's a home run, no brainer, short sale deal. Now, for the second half of your question, a time waster, that would be something that, is obvious, right? Has a ton of equity, makes sense for you to purchase or wholesale. And honestly, I wouldn't want you to send that to me. I would want you to make a bunch of money on it yourself.
So what about this? And because in Texas, honestly, we don't run across a lot of negative equity deals. We run across some, but we run across a lot of basically no equity, right?
Okay.
Like the house is worth 100, but they owe 100, or, the house is worth 100 and they owe 98. So they're not negative equity, but by the time they list it and sell it and closing fees and realtor fees, et cetera, they're going to be negative.
Mm-hmm.
And these people literally have no money in the bank and they just lost their job or going through a divorce. What about those situations?
That's a great question and a really important point. So let's say, right, let's use your example. You come across someone with, property's worth 100, they owe 98, so you can't do anything with it. That's still probably going to qualify for a short sale. Here's why. The principal mortgage balance isn't the only thing that a bank looks for that has to exceed the value of the house. All the closing cost, right? Realtor commissions that the bank is going to pay in the short sale, any kind of late fees, attorney fees, and believe me, if they're not paying their mortgage, that stuff is adding up like you wouldn't believe. You're talking 20, 30, 40K. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So any kind of closing costs, even like Brent, like back taxes, water bills, that all
HOA dues.
Yeah. Anything like that, if it exceeds or is equal to the balance of the property, and it's a qualified short sale. Mm-hmm. So it's actually great you brought that up. It doesn't have to be underwater technically. It could be close.
Yeah. I want to bring that up because that's kind of the avatar of ours. That's how we define our short sales here for us, because we don't run across a lot of negative equity situations here in Texas. So also let's talk about luxury homes. So I know that definition is different in every market, but here in Houston, let's say 500,000 and above to $1 million or 2 million. We hate those leads, right? We're not going to invest in those deals. We're not going to ever buy those houses. But because we do a lot of SEO for lead generation, we get a lot of those people that are just kind of getting feelers and reaching out to us. So what about the high equity luxury end homes?
It's the same principle. Nothing changes. It doesn't matter the property type, what the property looks at, the asset, multifamily, single, luxury, lower income, doesn't matter. The same short sale principles apply. Yeah. You actually, come to think of it, I don't know if we have any really high end ones from you guys, but we have a couple of retail ones that might be considered luxury from you guys. So it's funny.
Yeah, there was that one. Yeah. There was a one, can't think of the street name, but I wanted to bring that up, and that's going to be music to a lot of investors and wholesalers' ears, because we get so many leads that we can't monetize them.
Why
The
don't you guys?
conventional, the way that we,
Yeah.
what's that?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but why can't you guys monetize? Because they're too nice. In other words, you can't get a cash buyer, to purchase them. Why can't you monetize those?
Not typically, not typically. Yeah. So kind of go on a tangent a little bit. So our whole business model is, we invest in medium price housing and below. So in the, greater Texas market, it's somewhere around 225,000 ish and below.
Okay.
And so the reason that's all that I invest in. Well, I say all, it's about 80% of what I invest in. We do have a $450,000 listing going up for sale next week, but that's what we invest in, because whenever markets go up, markets go down. Yeah, we lose some buyers and renters if the market goes up, but there's people upgrading. And the same thing, when the markets go down, we lose some buyers and renters, but there's also people who are downsizing as well. So we're well insulated in that market. We avoid kind of the ups and downs. We have multiple exit strategies to flip them, rent them, owner finance them, or just wholesale them. The retail market, honestly, Bob, I've taken some massive hits in the luxury market. I used to play around in that space a lot. When oil and gas market tanked last time, I was holding a bunch of $500,000 to $800,000 houses, and that was a big portion of our market. So it's just not a sustainable investing opportunity, because when there's a market shift, luxury markets are one of the first markets to crash.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we just don't invest them, and most investors don't either as well. So that's why they're kind of considered in the industry, they're considered trash leads for real estate investors, because there's not a buyer's market for them. And the buyer's market that is there, to be quite honest, unless they are just an absolute home run steal of a deal, the buyer's market is typically what you see the very novice, inexperienced investor who doesn't last in the business long, because their holding costs are so much more, the rehab costs are so much more, they're harder to really budget out for rehabs, because you're dealing with a whole nother level of materials and contractor. It's a big long story, but they're not ideal investment properties for us at all. All right. So I've already mentioned this, but I already know the answer to this question. So I'll tell everybody, yes, you're in all 50 states. Is that correct?
Process
okay, in all 50. What's that?
Yep. Process in all 50.
Process in all 50 states. So how does that work? They reach out to you, say, hey, Bob, I got a lead. They go to your website, kind of break down the process on, they send a lead to you, and just take them behind the curtains a little bit. Tell them what it is that you would be doing for them.
Yeah. So from the wholesaler perspective, whenever you have a lead, let's say you're on the phone with the homeowner and you realize, hey, look, I can't help these people from purchasing or wholesaling the property, but it may be a good short sale. So you just very simply say, my friend, my short sale partner, pretty much however you want to put it, as long as you're being transparent. Bob from Universal Short Sales is going to reach out to you, answer any questions you have about a short sale, and see if it's a good fit for you. So you just simply shoot them over to us, just like Brant's team does, and we keep you updated on what happens with the lead, okay? And then once we're able to convert the lead into an actual customer, we have a short sale tracking spreadsheet. Again, super simplistic. We just plug the property in, and you could follow the process of that short sale in real time. We update it. So, and we also sign a referral agreement with you, which just guarantees that $500 payment, just for transparency. So I like to keep things very, very simple.
Yeah. And so what is I know every short sale is different, but what's an average kind of time frame for the ones that close?
Yeah, that's the most popular question.
That's a tricky question. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look, there's going to be people in the industry that are going to BS you and give you these sales pitches. If I could close in 30 days, 60 days, but look, it's all BS. The average time frame is 2 to 5 months, and it all depends on so many factors. And I'll give you an example. Let's say you open up a lead, right, and the short sale has 3 different mortgages on it, which is possible. A primary, a secondary, and a third. You have to satisfy all 3 of those mortgages. The lenders all have to communicate and negotiate with each other. It's pretty much insanity.
Yeah.
So, that's going to put you behind. Let's say, for example, Brant, we process it extremely quickly, right? It's ready to be listed and sold as a short sale. But let's say it's a crappy market. Let's say it's in a weird neighborhood, in a weird city, that there's just not a large buyer pool. So a short sale is good, it's processed, but it might take the agent, 5-6 months to sell it. That's out of
Right.
everyone's control.
Yeah.
So long story short, I kind of beat around the question like a politician there, but 2 to 5 months, I'd say, that's a good rule of thumb average, but honestly, it depends. It's impossible to
Yeah.
give.
Yeah. And that's why I kind of like the analogy of you're planting seeds. You never know when, which ones are going to sprout, which ones are not. You never know when, but the fact of the matter is the more that you put in, the more that you're going to get out. So, if you're investor, agent, wholesaler, uh, we're going to give Bob's information, his contact information here a little bit. It's also going to be on our resources page. I'll post a link in the comments. But also, Bob, another thing that we need to talk about too
Yeah.
is you've got an affiliate type of program, right? And I know that I've sent you a lot of contacts from other people that I know that I have a relationship with who are the same business model as us. And you've been sending me some affiliate checks. So I like that. And also affiliate agreements. So I know you're very, guys, Bob is great with communication, keeping you in the loop, documenting everything, updating his list and his back end, showing you, hey, these are leads I'm working for you and your team. These are the affiliates that I have signed contracts with. So talk to everyone about that a little bit.
Yeah, so that's something we're still working on. It's a work in progress, have a lot of work to do, but it's an affiliate wholesaler program. So just like Brant said, he's a part of it. If you're a wholesaler, you could monetize, right? We were able to create a way for you to monetize your network of wholesalers. So let's say you have 10 to 15 wholesalers that you just know, they're active in the market, you know them at your local RIA, whatever the case is. You can introduce them to myself. And if they're on board and they want to participate in our wholesaler referral program, that's great. They could work under you. And for every transaction we do with them, you get a residual check for $100. So you're talking, it's even more hands off than our normal program for the $500 because you literally do nothing. You're just sending a quick introduction email. And then for every transaction I do with that wholesaler forever, you get $100 check. And I mean, that could add up over the course of time, remarkably.
Yeah, that can up really, really big. I've got some friends who run companies that are doing 20 to 25 deals that they're closing every single month.
Yeah.
Some of you out there know organizations bigger than that even. So even if they're doing 5 to 10 deals a month, think about how many short sale leads that they're just passing up. I'm not going to mention any names, but I saw some referral agreements come through that you sent to me. So I'm excited about that because some of those guys are very, very big producers in the space. So I think it's going to be a great opportunity. So Bob, my friend, so you recently, you also partnered, you're a licensed agent as well, like I am, and you recently partnered with me and EXP Realty. So tell everyone about that. What's your experience been so far with being a part of EXP?
Honestly, it's a perfect fit. It really is. I joined it. I saw you really active on LinkedIn. You were always posting stuff. And I thought to myself, I need to hang my license somewhere that makes sense for my short sale business as I grow it, almost like a partnership. And EXP is everything I asked for. I mean, it's super scalable, right? Just like my businesses, we cover all 50 states. And it's all virtually based, which I love because that's how my company is. And in my opinion, Brant, that's where the industry is going. I think I think business in general, is going just virtual. Everything is about convenience. So honestly, it's an awesome company so far. It really is.
Yeah, the whole, everything we're going through with COVID-19 has really moved that up to some companies. I mean, look, I don't know the percentage, but probably 80% of all companies are now virtual, whether they like it or not. And EXP now is actually thriving, and more agents who are used to going to a brick and mortar office or they're working from home, And so we're getting a lot of attention with what we're doing at EXP. And that's it. That's all that we've, Bob and I've done is with our business is we've got our core business, right? And so mine is, real estate investing. Bob's is short sales. All we've done is kind of partnered our business with EXP. I like to call EXP is a bolt-on business to what you're doing. It's a vehicle to help you get, further along and get there faster.
Yeah.
And if you don't know, you need to take a look at that. Reach out to myself, reach out to Bob if you'd like to get more information, because what we're doing at EXP is giving agents ownership. We're giving them an additional income stream and just a much more efficient platform to work with. So Bob, what's the best way for an investor or an agent to send you a lead or reach out and get in contact with you to possibly work with you?
Email or cell phone. You said you're going to leave it below, correct?
I will post that below in the comments. I'll also, it's going to be on the resources page. If you go to realestatefundamentals.com/resources, there'll be a link there with Bob's contact and Universal Short Sales information, so you can get in touch with him there. And
there's a little tab on the website too, guys. Universalshortsales.com. You could just go. You can reach out to me there as well. There's a little comment section, so feel free.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on. Is there anything else you want to share with everybody as we wrap this up?
That's it, man. I think we pretty much covered everything. If anyone has any questions, whether you're a real estate agent, wholesaler, don't think you have to have a lead in hand or want to do business with me. Honestly, reach out if you have any short sale questions at all in general. I'm happy to help. Happy to hop on a call with you. It's no issue at all.
Yeah, likewise. Reach out to me as well. I've worked, like I said, many of these deals with Bob already. So it's not just I invited Bob on and I'm talking about something I don't have any experience with, because I do. So I'll, validate everything that he said. And so that's it. Thanks for coming on, Bob. I think you provide a lot of great information for agents and investors to go out there, monetize these leads. So looking forward to continue working with you, my friend.
Thanks for having me. I had a great time. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Y'all take care.
Later.